Single most important skill any entrepreneur can learn is sales. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're a coder, you're an engineer, you're a mechanic, you're a beer brew drafts. I don't care what you do. The single most critical skill you will learn as an entrepreneur, and it is 10 times more important than every other skill that comes after it, is sales. So if there's one excuse I never accept from entrepreneurs is I can't sell. Then don't be an entrepreneur. There's many other, go be an accountant somewhere, go practice HR. You know, there are companies that have nice long meetings and people sit and they have cookies and biscuits and there's an agenda. Go there.
That's where they belong.
That's where you belong. But in our world, we sell. So
I like that.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing I want to say to your question is, I also hate entrepreneurs that have the idea that they've got to have runway before they start a business. And there's this pervasive culture now in South Africa. You know, people go and create a business plan, and the business plan I say I need 18 months runway, and I'm going to raise capital in this 18 months. Who's runway? Where are you running? On whose money, right? Because somebody has to pay the piper. So you want to start this thing, and you're telling funders, we've got to part with money to fund your dreams? I got my own dreams, player. I'll fund my own dreams.
Yes.
So the single most important skill you'll learn is sales. So what did I do? I sold. I used to do this thing called burn the line. In my business today, the team will tell you, I still tell them, burn the line. You know what that means? It means you pick up the phone, you come up with a telephone directory, and you do not put that thing down until you close a sale.
Wow.
I don't care what you say. What are you selling? HR consulting services? How do you think you're going to do it? Invite people for coffees at Melrose Arch?
Doesn't work.
That won't work.
Yeah.
Run an email shot on MailChimp? That won't work. A clever little campaign on Twitter, Facebook? That will not work. Get on the phone, get a directory, pick up the phone, and dial the fucking number. That's it. It's not. It really is not that complex. Even today, people don't know. Guys don't know. Even today, I sell. When the team has the sale they've got to close and they need the big hitter, they call Vusi. And I will walk in and I will close. That's what I do. Because if you can't bridge that skill as an entrepreneur, everything else you learn is immaterial.
Yeah.
The ability to develop now you guys, I feel like people are just distracted. Because you're designing websites and logos. Let's on. Let's on.
Trying to look pretty online, you know.
Not doing profiles and what are you doing, guys? People are trying to short circuit. Just.
So,
If you're an entrepreneur today and you've been in business for less than 3 years, a task for you when you leave here. When you leave here, designate one day in the week. Designate a morning in that day. You start at 9, you finish at 11. You come up with a cold call list of 200. You know how I know? Because in 2 hours, you'll make 200 phone calls. And here's how the rules work in sales. It's 10 for 1. You make 10 phone calls, you get 4 appointments, 1 sale. But if you don't make the 10 phone calls, the 1 sale doesn't come. When you've done that, and you've got clients, and you're billing, and you're doing work, then you can worry about what's my website look like? What does my brand look like? Putting up an Instagram picture of you in your nice car. And then you can do that. So, if you study people who are at the pinnacle of anything, you recognize that to get there, motivation was maybe 1% of the formula. Maybe. 1%. And I'll prove it to you. If you want to become a world-class bodybuilder, say an IFBB pro, what that takes is you have to train twice a day, 6 days a week. You have to have 8 meals a day. Your calorie intake is regimented. Your meals are pre-planned and pre-cooked. You don't eat according to taste, you eat according to function. So my trainer, for instance, will eat and I'm going, what are you eating? And he's having he'll have chicken that was boiled without salt. And he'll have like half a kilo of it. I mean, what are you doing? He says, I'm taking in protein. He doesn't say I'm eating. He says, I'm taking in protein. For him, it's functional. It's not taste-based. Then you would probably have to train for a minimum, and this is if you are a genetic phenom,
you'd have to train for a minimum of 10 years before you could get on a stage and compete at an average level with an average global bodybuilder. Average. Okay. So why am I telling you this? All of us here at the beginning of a new year write these things called New Year's resolutions. And then New Year's resolutions, number 1, make more money. Yeah? Number 2, change my boyfriend. Number 3, get into shape. Yeah? Number 3, get into shape is somewhere in the top 3. So what do? You go to the gym, you get a gym membership. Yeah? You go to the local Nike store and you buy like all of your gym gear. You are motivated. You are inspired. You are going to the damn gym. You go to YouTube, you subscribe to all of the fitness channels. You go to your Instagram, you follow all of the fitness models. You are motivated. You are going to the damn gym. You're going to get in shape. That's what you're going to do. The people you're following on YouTube have been working on for a minimum of 5 years to look like that. So you have the incorrect understanding that after a month of working out, you're going to look like them. So what happens in the first month? You're excited. You go to gym every single month. And you take the pains and your body is sore, but I'm excited. I'm going to gym. Then life happens. Company doesn't make money. You don't make your targets. You fall a bit ill. Something happens. And all of a sudden you stop going to gym for a day. A day becomes 2, 2 becomes a week. Now all of a sudden you've had a gym membership for 3 months and you haven't been in that time. What did you miss? You thought motivation was the formula. Winners don't need motivation. Winners need discipline. Discipline's about getting it done because it needs to get done, not because I feel like it, not because I'm motivated for it. You think Nelson Mandela was motivated to spend 27 years in prison? You think Martin Luther King was motivated to march across the states and proclaim freedom? You think, if you look at people that change the world, they're not doing it because they're motivated. They're doing it because they made a commitment to do it and they disciplined to see it through. Discipline is far more important than motivation, which is why you've got to be careful the decisions you make. Because once you make the decision, you have to see that decision through. Like my mentor says, first we make the decisions, then the decisions make us. So you've got to be very careful the decisions you make. Be very careful the commitments you make. Motivation, I'm telling you now, is completely overrated. It's important. Don't get me wrong. We meet according to motivation. We feel good, rah-rah. But that'll fade. You need a stronger will and a deeper commitment to see.
Hello, family. One of the questions that we often get asked here at the School of Scale is, why is scale so difficult? Well, there are many answers to this. But I wanted to answer the question this way. If you're thinking about elevating anything, there are 3 things fundamentally that you have to do. We know the good people at EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, talk a lot about the theory of these 3 C's, they call them. First, choice. Second, collective. And third, courage. So choice. You've got to make some tough decisions. Scale is hard because it requires you to make tough decisions. And if you are too cowardice to make tough decisions or have tough conversations or tunnel down a particular path where you do the things you need to do, you're going to find it very, very difficult to move from the stage you're at to the stage you need to get to. So get good at making tough decisions. The way I like to think of this is like this. The tougher the decisions you make, the easier your life. The easier the decisions you make, the tougher your life. And it's true across every single aspect, right? It's tough to be a professional athlete and train every day. It's tough to be a student and study and prepare for your exams and in time. It's tough. But if you do that properly, then it's a lot easier when the examination comes. It's a lot easier to compete when the competition comes. So, choices. Choices. Second is courage. Having choices to make and not the courage to make the right one is really only half of the metric system, right? You not only need to make sure you've got the right set of choices, but you've got to make sure you have the courage to make the right ones. And courage is one of those things, right? There's no school for courage. There's no supplement that you can drink that gives you courage. There's no curriculum in any education program that teaches you courage. Courage is a character thing. It's not a skill set that you learn over time. It's something that you force yourself to have by putting yourself in an environment where courage is necessary and then demonstrating courage. So courage. And then the third, collective. This might be the hardest one, but any place worth going is very difficult to get to alone. So having the right collective, the right support system, and remember there are three verticals in terms of your support systems, right? It's the people above you who are typically sponsors and mentors, people next to you who are typically partners you're building with, and people below you who are typically people you lead. And if you don't have a full-on 360 degree of the right collective, then you have the responsibility to make sure that you shift your operating environment to get the collective right. So, choice, courage, collective. I'm curious to hear from you, so do me a favor. Won't you leave me in the comments section a thought about which of these three you think is the one you most need to improve on? Because the theory of leverage tells us this. It tells us that we have 80% of what we need to succeed. But doubling our outcome often depends on getting that final 20% right. Just that final 20%. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video.
Entrepreneurship is interesting. It's a lot like swimming. So if I gave you a textbook on how to swim and you read it for 3 years and then I took you and chucked you in the ocean, you'd sink. Because swimming isn't a theory thing, it's a practice thing. You have to do it to know how to do it. So the first thing I'd say is it's somebody who's failed. I love people who failed because they've proven they've tried something and that they know what's on the other side of not succeeding, which is this failure thing. The second is somebody who believes in themselves even when there's ridiculous odds to suggest it's not going to work. You know, I always say entrepreneurs are crazy. You have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur. Because you got to believe you're going to make money month end, which often you're not. You got to believe you can compete with big companies, which often you can't. You got to believe you can reach all your customers, which often you won't. And you have to believe you can do so cheaply and cost effectively and make a profit, which in the early days you probably won't do. If you don't believe those four things, you're not going to succeed as an entrepreneur. So you've absolutely got to be certifiable, absolutely crazy. And then the third thing is just people who are passionate. Like, you got to love what you do. Because I remember in the early days, the only thing that fed me was my passion. There was no money at the end of the month. In fact, there was too much month at the end of the money. So you just got to be passionate. You got to love what you do.
Yeah, I love that. Too much month at the end of the month. Because I've been in a situation like that before, and it's not a nice place to be. It really isn't. But I want to talk a little bit about color now, because you know this is. I mean, it's there. It's in black and white. Excuse the pun. But out of the 16 businesses on this Dragon's Den program, only. Of those funded, only 4 went to blacks, and 1 was to a female.
Yes.
What is going wrong? I mean, when you look at the population, that is not representative 100%. Of the population. But obviously, it's not about color at that time. It's about entrepreneurship and that way of thinking. What is wrong with the black-powered communities?
Let me juxtapose that by then saying, remember, of the 5 of us who are investing, 4 were black. So just to be clear, you've got 80% investors who are black, but the investment complexion doesn't reflect the people investing or the dynamics of the country.
And money does not know color, does it?
100%, which is the thing, right? So in this country, we've taken and this is I'm very unpopular for having this view, by the way, but entrepreneurship is not a race thing. You're either going to do it or you're not. Let me put it to you this way. Nobody has ever shown me favor in business because I was black. I was in business because I was in business. The fact that I was black then became an added advantage. So if you want to be in business because you're black, odds are you're not going to survive it. Because at the end of the month, the debit order doesn't ask you, are you black or white, so am I debiting your account or not debiting it? At the end of the month, your customer doesn't go, are you black or white, so am I paying you today or at the end of 30 days? They're going to pay you by their payment terms. So, you asked the question around why was that the investment complexion? It's typically because we have a very big problem in this country around developing real black entrepreneurs, but I mean real entrepreneurs, not the guy who registers a company, gets a tax clearance certificate, opens a bank account, then goes and starts applying, then goes and starts filling in database registration forms to wait for somebody to say supply me. That's not entrepreneurship. That's being a businessman. Those are not the same things. So we don't have that. What we also don't have, and the other thing we've done is we've taken, in the main, very talented black people and have done 2 things to them. Gave them very high-paying jobs in corporate, so there's no incentives to start a business, because I can go get an education and get a good job in corporate and live comfortably. Or, and this is the worst thing we did, is we then said, well, here's BEE transactions, so you can take 26% of a company you played no role in building, and tomorrow you can buy a Range Rover, just like that. So the minute you distort the reward risk system, which is what entrepreneurship is, I take a risk, in future I'm going to get a reward. The minute you distort it, people then don't flock to this thing called entrepreneurship. Now, I spend a lot of time in Kenya, and I've often said, I will fund a Kenyan entrepreneur over a South African yesterday. Because the Kenyans, boy, are in this thing for the long haul. Like when they build a business, they're building this business not for today or for tomorrow, they're building it for their children 3 generations from now. And that's what we're not getting right.